Hi there, thank you for stopping by. If it looks like I'm looking at the floor, it's just me having some notes on my phone here of today's video. Okay, so first of all, we have to have a little disclaimer, and that's I'm not out here to build the most perfect sounding studio space possible. This room is very small, so it's difficult to get it sounding absolutely perfect, but that doesn't mean that I can't try to do my best to get it sounding at least as good as possible with the resources I have at the moment. And that's kind of my goal of today's video. The first thing I'm going to tackle is the placement of the studio monitors. I had a studio space before this, or actually I sat in the living room, and there I had speaker stands where the speakers stood on top of, and so I could decouple them from the desk. When I moved to this room, the space got a lot smaller, so I had to place them on the table, and that's not really ideal. So that's why I got these stands from IsoaCoustics. I'm going to use these stands to try to raise the studio monitors so that the tweeters are at the ear level. And in addition, using the stands will also decouple the speakers from the table, so the table doesn't resonate that much with the speakers. So, as I said earlier, the ideal placement is of course on separate stands behind the desk here, but the room is so small that that type of placement is really impractical, and it wouldn't work in this room. I would sit in almost in a window here where I have the camera filming me now. So I'm going to assemble these stands now. I'm going to place the monitors on top of them, and then I'm going to try to film the adjustment process, and let's see how it goes. Okay, now the speakers are placed on their stands. The next thing on the list is to try to form an equilateral triangle with my head and the studio monitors. An equilateral is a triangle in which all three sides are equal. And I'm going to place a microphone in my sitting position to simulate my head, and this will just make it easier to measure and to do the placement of the monitors. So this is the microphone which simulates my head. The height should be in my ears listening position when I sit down, and but the microphone should be around here. It's a bit further, yeah, around here somewhere. So we should try to make the triangle go to this point somewhere. So the speakers now, they are placed in a position that makes them sound a little better. But as I said in the disclaimer above, there are some compromises I have to make because of the room. And the first compromise is that the speakers could be more, or should be more, from the wall as they are now. But it's not really practical to move them more in the front. And the acoustic treatment is also on the shopping list. I need to add some bass traps here in the corners and some absorbers on the wall here. The reason that I haven't done that yet is because I'm not really sure how I'm going to place out the gear I have here. I'm not really sure if I'm going to have this synth here or if I'm going to have it on the other side. So I have to decide that before I damage the walls and screw some screws in it. So now I'm going to try to set the camera on the tripod, and let's see if we can measure up some triangles. So now we have to measure some distances. I apologize for the audio, but I have to do some omnidirectional recording here. First we measure the distance between the monitors, and we can see here what it is. 115 centimeters. So we use the metric system here. So what we do now is, here is My head should be around here somewhere, and the height should be also around here. So to get this equilateral triangle, it should be 115 centimeters to the spot here from the tweeters and from the tweeter there. See where we end up. And we end up with 115 around here, and on the other side, and we end up with 115 around here. So getting the monitors set up correctly is important to get them work to its fullest potential, even if you have to do some compromises to the placement. When I use the IsoaCoustics stands behind me here, I noticed a more clarity in the sound and more defined bass, even though this room isn't treated yet. So I think getting those stands under there has helped the sound in this room. But that's not the only thing I'm going to talk about today. How can you make a good mix if you don't have a treated room, not a professional studio, and not very expensive gear? Well, the answer for me of that is using something called reference tracks. So what I often do is that I take a track that I know is professionally produced, mixed and mastered. I listen to it through the speakers I have behind me here, and I listen to them how they sound in this room, and then I try to analyze the levels, especially the volume of the bass, the kick, percussion or melodies, and just the overall clarity of the mix and how it sounds like. I do this with a couple of tracks, and I try to get my own mix sounding somewhat like that as it sounds in this room. So if you do this, you can mix on anything. You can mix on any speaker, you can mix on any headset, or even an iPhone headset if you want that. So I think that way, I mean, reference tracks has helped my mixes to get a lot better, and not really placing the speaker 1 centimeter correctly to either side. There's a guy on YouTube that I follow, and his channel is called Recording Revolution. This guy talks a lot about reference tracks and mixing techniques. I recommend following this guy if you want to know more about mixing, because it's not always about the gear you have here, it's also about your mindset and how you approach creating music. So getting the speakers placed correctly is important, but it's only a part of the equation. I don't stress that much over the placement so that it takes time from what's most important, and that's of course creating music. I want to thank you for watching videos like these. Please take a moment to subscribe to this channel, press like if you like this video, and hit that bell icon to get notified about new videos when I release them. If you do so, it also sends signals to Google that they should bump this little channel up a bit in the search results, and that's extremely helpful for a small channel like this. In the future, I also plan to have more content about computers and maybe building a music computer. If you hold on here, I can show you. I have some big plans. So if you want to follow me with those plans, just yeah, I just said what you can do. With that, I say see you in the next one. Take care. Bye bye.